So it's been a little while since I've done any filming. I've just been tinkering. I haven't been able to get out to the travel hall again as much as I have in the past. So I've just done a bit here and a bit there. I cleaned and vacuumed and wiped down the whole interior, got all my tools out from all the crap that had built up over the last while. And then I've done a variety of little things, none of them really big standalone specifically, but they've added up to quite a few different things. So I'm going to go over a bunch of what's been going on here with you guys and show you all the different things we've got put together at this point. So, you can see here, I started trying to figure out exactly what I'm doing with the wiring that goes to all of this. Additionally, a bunch of this wiring went to the tailgate area. And there's some other wiring that eventually went to the controls for this, which were up on the ceiling. So I've been trying to figure out the wiring and doing a bit of this and a bit of that. So we've just got that all tucked in there. And before I even got to the wiring, actually, I finally figured out my mounting system for this. It's something I've been battling in my head for quite some time, trying to figure out the best way, to get this all put together. So I finally did. I welded a piece of angle iron in right here with a nut welded to the back of it. And then I built this here bracket. I guess it can be closer, you guys can see it. It's two-piece. I don't know that it needed to be two-piece. I think I can get it in and out. But basically what you're looking at is I tried to take advantage of existing points on this unit in order to build this thing. So if we swing that up over there, we may or may not be able to get it in right here. There we go. There. So it slides up in right here. And then it will bolt in over here as well. So it bolts in on both of those. And then bolts in there in the center. There is that. I do need to put a bit of foam rubber up in here. There's one point that rubs. So I'll just get some like foam tape or something and get that up behind that. But you can see all of that. I have not figured out the wiring. In fact, figuring out the wiring and how I'm going to loom it is one of my current jobs. And then there's a bolt point down over here that needs to be secured that hopefully will take some of this wobble out of it. If not, there's a little arm over here I can build an extension to. I did weld in this bar. It's a little bit crooked. I was just trying to work around some of these pieces that might go back on. So I just put it where I thought it would give me enough clearance to attach to these old air points and whatnot. So I'm just fine with where that is. Additionally, you can see I'm trying to figure out where the wiring's going to go so that it would fit behind this panel that we were messing with. One of the other problems I'm running into is I don't have a good way to secure this. So I took a cue from Project Binky, more or less, and I made up a whole bunch of these little bad rides. But the basic idea is I'll put them down, I'll tack weld them in place, and then the wiring can lay on them and run a zip tie through it to hold everything in place. You can see here, there's some screw holes in that now. And some matching ones over here in this panel so that this panel can screw in there. We welded a little tiny piece of angle iron in the back of that there. So all of that works now. Also, actually, I took this window out, de-rusted and painted all inside the frame, as well as the window frame you can see sitting there. That's both of them that have been de-rusted, and the lower trim panel that goes here, de-rusted and painted that on the inside. So all of that is nice and clean, ready for the window to go back in whenever I decide it's the right time. If we shove this bad right in, you can see I made some cuts along the top there so that it will clear. So let me just get this kind of finagled into place real quick. Alright, so just a few things you can see when we push this into place. You can see that gap's decently tight. Maybe weld in that little hole right there just to smooth that out. But you can also see I've cut a notch down here for the wiring to pass through. I may bring that up even some more. And I may need to actually build a little extension that comes out and kind of closes in this corner a little bit. And then I'll have a plate here that will hopefully protect the rest of the wiring. So there's still some stuff to figure out there. That's part of what I'm working on. Ooh. But we push this in. I'm falling over. Push this in. We've got all the clearance we need for everything. The wiring itself isn't an issue there at all. And then there's a couple small adjustments we may still need to make. One of them being right here, I've got this open gap, so I may weld a flat plate inside there just to finish the appearance of that, so that all works. But, you know, that's all going to be in place, so that will all work. I believe that's everything that I've gotten done as I've just been tinkering. They're just lots of little jobs. My job right now is getting those wiring ties welded in place and looming this wiring so that it's at least permanent. Even if I don't use all of it, I can zip tie it out of the way, but it's all in its home. So that's really where I'm at right now. So I knew I'd be making up a whole bunch of these clips. I figured if I was going to do 3, I may as well do a bunch or whatever. So I just made up probably 20 or 30 of them. In order to do that and do it quickly, I knew I would need a die or a press of some kind. So I just whipped up this little contraption you can see here. These are just wire, like thick, heavy wire. I mean, it's over 1/8 of an inch in diameter. But these are just wire. Welded 2 pieces to a plate and another 2 of them together. And all I've been doing is pinching a piece of metal in between them, holding it like chopsticks, a quick clamp, and that's it. We've got another crappy little wire tie that I can weld in. So I built a bunch of those. Now it's time to just get them all in. Alright, so we've got a bunch of those tie downs in place. You saw me install a few of them, like that one right there. I installed one right up under here, but decided against using it. I've got, I think, 3 or 4 more all the way down to that bracket right there so far. But I decided instead to just whip up a couple of these little brackets here. Just some bent over tabs with a couple of holes drilled in them. Hey guys, so we're continuing a little bit on our theme of rear end wiring, trying to get that figured out. One of the things I haven't ever bothered dealing with is, one, how do I get the taillight wiring up into the body where my taillights are now? And 2, which wires go to where doing what? So that's what I'm looking at right now. So I drew up this crappy little diagram for the passenger side, and there are multiple grounds in these wiring harnesses. There are 3 blacks in that. Now maybe it doesn't matter which ground I use, but just in case it does, I want to wire everything back up the way it was, or as close to the way it was as I can. So the first thing I did was just figure out which wire pairs with what. And to do that, it was pretty simple. All I did was check for continuity by plugging into one of the blacks and then coming up here and checking the black wire in each plug and then figuring out which color was associated with it. So it ended up being, at least on the passenger side, these are what they do. But the second thing I need to figure out is, okay, I know what pairs to what, but out of 1, 2, 3, and 4, which are the power signal wires, 5, 6, 7 are the grounds, out of 1, 2, 3, 4, what do they power? And looking at this is the passenger side harness. You can see it's a 7-wire deal. We've got 3 blacks and then 4 other colors. Well, the driver's side deal is actually the same exact wiring harness as far as I can tell. So I'm just using the Tallhoe, the Tallhoe, to tell me what does what. So we've got a turn signal on here. And if we look at that, the turn signal is associated with the light blue option. Now if we look at this, and my diagram is with it looking this way, light blue is this upper corner. So light blue is number 1, which unfortunately, maybe not. Maybe I've got this. No, that's light blue. Is that dark blue? Well, actually, that does not look like light blue. It looks like it might be what on this side is dark blue. It's also the one that's the longest, so I'm going to go with that. So that makes that dark blue, which is number 4. So I'm going to guess that is my turn signal. And then that should make this other 2-wire, 6, 3, reverse. And that probably makes the third one, since it's a 3-wire, both stop and turn. Perhaps. Oh no. Stop and running, I think. Yeah, that makes sense because it's already got running light on. So yes, that's the basic idea right there. Stop and running. I just need to now figure out if it's 1 or if it's 2 that is my running light. I'm going to have to mess with this for a little while. Turn the headlights on and off and all that kind of fun to finish diagnosis or figuring all this out. So I'll bring you guys back in a minute. Shit. Well, guys, I feel like an idiot, but I have been defeated. There's 2 power wires on that socket, and I probed both of them with my other end in the ground, and I was getting power through both of them. So I'm not really sure why I'm getting that. I tried both sides of the Tallhoe. I got that on both sides. But it's something that can be ignored for now. I'll figure it out in the next step where I can actually use the bulbs that are in the Tallhoe and just make sure it's all wired up the way I want it to be. If I push the brake pedal and the brighter light comes on, I have it wired right. If the dimmer light comes on, I have it wired wrong. So I'll just get that fixed. But anyway, over here, I've now disconnected the battery, so there's no power here. The wiring all lives down here, and it needs to get up inside, but I've sealed the entire body around it. Boy, you can't see jack, can you? Even that's not really that great, is it? Super foggy. Anyway, this is the floor pan right up here, and this is kind of inside the rear fender. I think I'm probably just going to drill a hole up in here and put a grommet around the wiring. I'm just going to cut all of these. Let me turn that light off. It is not helping. I'm just going to cut all of these off so it's just a bundle of wire this thick and just pass a hole that large through the floor. And then I'll wire it up inside, and frankly, if I ever have to replace it, then I'll have to cut some pieces to get it out again. But that's really not that big a deal. So if I cut it or if I drill it where I just mentioned, that's going to come through inside, like right in there. So, here's the AC. Tail lights are in there. That's just going to come up through this floor pan somewhere right here-ish. So it's not completely optimal, but it will be behind the interior panel. I would like it to be back in here or even drill through and come up, but to do that, I probably have to drill the hole quite a bit lower than I want. So I think in the end, my better option is just coming up right here at that back corner. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to aim to get a hole as far up into this corner right here as I can. It'll be somewhere right in here, I think. And that's just going to be what it's going to be. And then it can just come up and go straight to the wiring and behind here and connect to that bulb again right there. Well, I didn't film that because I was wedged up in a corner of the travel while trying to drill a hole. But we got it done. And unfortunately, this is where it comes through. It's a good 2.5 inches out, but that's where that corner is underneath. So, not a lot to be done about it. I think it will probably be just fine. We've got the wiring basically through. And then we've got a variety of things to wire up. I'm going to need to, man, I'm not getting back in there very well, am I? Down here, we've got the reverse. I'm going to have to rig up. I didn't realize it. I may need to pull that out because I need to rig a ground contact point to this. I have a ground up on this. Each of these represents a light signal. And I've got a ground. Crap. I'm going to have to think this through. I have one bulb less here. So I'm going to have to do kind of a 5-wire to 4-wire kind of thing. On this one, I'm guessing the running light cancels and becomes the turn light. So I may need to do something like when you hook up a 5-wire system to a trailer for a 4-wire system. I got to think about this. Figure out exactly how this is going to work. Because, yeah, I may need to add something to this in order to make this all functional. Thinking time. We've done a quick little spot of wiring here. So we've got a ground hooked up and both of the wires, as well as the side marker light here. I've got it wired to the ground. So I'm just going to touch it to each of these to determine which color is my running lights. I may still have to switch these two. If I have the running lights wired to the stop light, then it will be too bright. But nevertheless, just a quick touch to whichever one of these will show me which side is my running light. So we're just gonna climb out up here and turn on the headlights. Alright, we turned on the lights. You can see I do have light in that. And then we're just looking to see if we get any light out of that, which it is an LED. It's just a random bulb I had. Okay, good. So it looks like brown white is running lights. So that's good. But now I do need to determine which one of them is going to be my stop light. So I'm going to unwire this real quick. Okay, so I unwired those real quick. I know this is the wire that I want, but I need to know when I touch which one do I get the brighter light. I want the dimmer light. It's really kind of hard to tell, I think, on film, but this looks like it's the bright and the dim. So dim is our running light. That means this wire that I'm holding going to this wire here is my running light, and that I will also wire that little lamp into this. So yeah, this, let's see if you guys can, this is courtesy of Kurt Wiring. Come on, get to where you can see it. So this is from Kurt Manufacturing, a 2-wire system. So what we have currently from the Tallhoe is I have a tail and a stop and a turn bulb. So that's what I have. I have a single tail light bulb and then a stop turn bulb. But I need, like it says here, trailer side, all of those to be part of a stop turn tail system. So I have to use a converter to do that. I hadn't really thought about this before. I hadn't paid enough attention to the wiring. But that's what I'm going to have to do, is actually wire in one of these Kurt wiring adapters to make all of this work. I'm going to have to order that wiring harness to really get any more progress on this wiring at all. So I'll probably just wrap a bit of tape around this garbage just to hold it together so I know what's what. But other than that, to be able to actually wire these taillights in, I'm going to have to pick up one of those wiring harnesses. So I've got to get that ordered. Of course, there's still plenty of other work I can be doing while I'm waiting for that. But that's one of the next big purchases I have to make for this thing. I've got to get that ordered.